you doing independent work time as I monitor, but we are going to go over just protests and the history of protests and just the impact that it's had on society as well as in the sports community. Again, group one today, office hours. I still have a lot of people who have not completed the activity. Those of you who did not come on to office hours. So I need you to make sure you go into Google Classroom, look at the group one office hours activity and complete that. It is a Google form like a survey. All right, what is a protest? Somebody tell me, what is a protest? Break it down for me. What is a protest? Go ahead, Darius.
Like a community or a team of people going against something that's wrong.
A community or team of people that's going against something wrong. Anyone else would like to add to what a protest is? Amani, did you have your hand up or did you put it there? Go ahead, Amani.
A protest is something like a team of people going against something that they don't like.
Okay. When you go against something that you don't like. Good job. Go ahead, Solia.
Protest is like people fighting for what's right.
People fighting for what's right. Good job. What are some forms of protest? Somebody give me some different forms, like different examples of protest. Does everyone protest the same way? You're not for sure? So no, everyone doesn't protest the same way. You can have a march. You can do what they call a boycott, meaning where you all come together and say, we're not going to buy this or we're not going to go to this. You can have a sit-in where you go and you sit somewhere until your cause is it brings awareness to it. So there are different ways that you can protest. So we're going to look at a form of protest that took place starting last year and just let's see how it kind of went. Trying to see something because I started something. Let me see. 1 second, guys, because I'm missing a piece of my article. I'm going to come back to it. Oh, I see this. Okay. This is from yesterday. We're going to move that. Okay. Moving on. We're going to skip that. All right. Somebody read the learning target for me for today. Somebody read the learning target for me for today. Go ahead, Monty. Society. That's society. Yep. Somebody tell me, what are we doing today? So that's the red piece. What are we actually doing today? Solia, go ahead. Solia, what are we doing today? So remember, Solia, remember, just read what's in red when we talk about what we're doing today. So just read what's in red. Right, so to identify a key personal question about the influence of sports on society. So our agenda for today, we're going to review and discuss the article, Take a Knee, and we're going to unpack the power of sports, and then we're going to do like a quick gallery walk of the 3 books that we're going to read, and you're going to kind of just give me your thoughts and ideas on what you're looking for in this module when we talk about the power of sports, as well as which book that you are most interested in reading once we kind of review all of the different books. So hopefully you were able to read the article on Take a Knee. And I want to know, what does it mean to take a knee? And where and why did Colin Kaepernick take a knee? So let's quickly look at this. Why are people taking a knee during the national anthem? At the beginning of the NFL's 2016 season, Colin Kaepernick, then a quarterback with the San Francisco 49ers, took a knee during the Star-Spangled Banner. When asked why he kneeled during the anthem, Kaepernick stated, "I am not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color. There are bodies in the street and people getting paid, lead, and getting away with murder. Kaepernick's decision to kneel rather than sit on the bench was inspired by a conversation with a former NFL player and Green Beret who saw it as a more respectful gesture toward the military. So somebody tell me, one, what does it mean to take a knee? Well, just from what we read in this article, what does it mean when somebody takes a knee? So if you don't raise your hand on Zoom, just come off of mute and tell me, what does it mean to take a knee based off of this article? Crickets. I'm hearing crickets. Literally hearing crickets. So silent that the birds are trying to answer the question now. What does it mean to take a knee? Somebody, anybody.
Well, it seems like when they took a knee, they looked like they were trying to go against something. Like they said some people got away with murder.
Okay, so that's why he took the knee. That's the why. But what does it mean? What is the actual action when you are taking a knee? Based off of this. Let's look at the second line. No, third line. Look at the third line. Second sentence. Third line, second sentence. It's the beginning of the second sentence. Somebody read that sentence for me. The beginning of it. I'm going to wind up calling somebody if nobody speaks up.
Can you say it again, please?
Read, go to the third line, the beginning of the second sentence. Read that for me.
Can I say Kaepernick's
It-
name?
It says when asked. Start with that sentence.
Oh, when as he knelt during the national anthem.
So stop right there. Stop right there. What does it mean to take a knee based off of that one sentence? What did he do? What did he do? That's going to pretty much define what it means to take a knee.
He kneeled during the anthem.
Right, so he kneeled during the national anthem. Where was he when he kneeled during the national anthem? Where was he when he kneeled?
A football game?
Yeah, he was at the football game. He was at a football game and the national anthem came on, and usually this is the time when everyone stands up, put their hands over their heart, and they just listen to the song as a sign of respect. But he decided, no, I'm not going to stand up. I'm going to kneel down during the anthem. Now, Darius, go back to the why. Why did he say that he was not standing for the anthem and that he was actually going to kneel during the anthem?
Because some people got away with murder.
Right. So basically, he was talking about the police officers who murdered people or shot people when they were either trying to arrest them or when they pulled them over and they weren't in danger. They didn't have any weapons pulled out against them. They were killed, and when they went to trial, they were said that they weren't guilty, even though, looking at it, there was no reason to harm them, and you can't use your badge as an excuse for why it's okay to shoot people and then they die from it. So where did he get the idea from to go ahead and good job? Where did he get the idea to actually go and take a knee? Where did he get that idea from? Who gave him that idea? Who was the person that basically told him that it was a more respectful way to kneel? Go ahead, Darius. You're still on mute, Darius.
I seen an article that says he was inspired by a conversation with a former NFL player.
Right. So a former NFL player who actually happened to be in the military. He was a Green Beret. So somebody from the military who fights for the freedom of U.S. citizens said, hey, to me, kneeling during the anthem is a very respectful way of protesting, because I wouldn't feel offended by it, because I went to the army, I went to the military, I fought in a war so that people can have that opportunity to protest if they see there's something wrong. Burning the flag or doing this thing, maybe I don't like that, but I feel as though taking a knee during the anthem is respectful. So that's what he said. So now we're going to look and see, how did people respond? How did people respond to this? So it says here, the protest escalated this past weekend after President Trump encouraged owners of NFL teams to fire players who refused to stand during the national anthem. Ben Watson, a tight end for the Baltimore Ravens, was one of the players who protested this past weekend. Obviously, the name calling is something we don't stand for, he said. But even to imply that we don't have the right to express ourselves in that way is something that we really took to heart. Entire teams refused to come onto the field for the anthem. Others knelt in mass. For the first time since the beginning of the protest, team owners and coaches linked arms and protested with their players as a show of collective action to shine attention on the original message, the unjust killing of people of color and the lack of accountability for police officers who commit these acts. So, based off of what's underlined, what was one way people reacted? What was one way people reacted based on what's underlined? And you can just come off mute. Go ahead, Bray.
They started protesting too at the ball games.
Right. So you had other people who started protesting as well, especially other athletes, at the game. They will just go ahead and say, you know what, we're kneeling with you. How was another way that people responded? Give me another response that people had based off of what we see here in this article. It's right there within the first two sentences.
Nobody was saying. Other people, like President Trump, encouraged owners and NFL teams to fire people who refuse to stand up during the national anthem.
So what does that tell you? What does that mean of like how other people, and not in particular just President Trump, what were they kind of saying to people?
They didn't want them protesting.
Right. They were saying, like, don't support those people who protest. Good job, Braylon. Thank you. Like, we don't want them protesting. So you had some people who were for it, and then you have some people that were against it. And so when you look at this, especially when you look at it from the perspective of the people who are protesting, they see that the person who is in charge of the country is saying this. And so what, if we look at President Trump, is he white or is he black? So I saw Darius say white. Right. And so what does it make it seem like? What does it make it seem like when you have the white leader of a country saying that we don't want black people to protest? What does that look like? Zaire, that's funny. What does that seem like when you have like the white leader telling, this black player and players don't support when they protest? Like, it comes across as though they're being racist. So it has escalated a lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at just protests in sports, period. Because Colin Kaepernick was not the first person to protest in his using his platform to bring about awareness. So we're going to look at a quick video. As you see, it's only 3 minutes.
Game on Monday night, teammate Eric Reed joined him, and players on both teams raised fists in solidarity.
Well, I think there are some parallels to what is going on today. We know in the 60s, Harry Edwards established the Olympic Project for Human Rights. Two men who attended the games decided that they would show their displeasure. They stood black gloves with no shoes and black socks and gave what many people interpreted as a black power salute.
Somebody say you've got your you've got publicity, you've got medals, you've got martyrdom as well. What did you say to that? I can't eat that. And the kids growing up and grew up with me, they can't eat it. And the kids that's going to grow up after them, they can't eat it. Publicity.
Muhammad Ali also refused to take the traditional step forward, acceptance of induction into the United States Armed Services.
I will not go 10,000 miles from here to help murder and kill another poor people simply to continue the domination of white slave masters over the darker people of the earth.
Even Jackie Robinson, in his autobiography, I Never Had It Made, said that he could no longer stand for or sing the national anthem because he was a black man in America who was treated unfairly.
It's amazing to me. I keep reading about certain ball players, and one day I look on television and he's black. I think they should be judged solely on their abilities out there, and the race shouldn't have anything to do with it.
One of the things that I think we have to talk about in terms of what Kaepernick is doing is what the national anthem means.
Maybe it's done. Is it done? Might be done. We'll see. If it's done, it's done. And I'm okay with that. All right, I'm going to pause this because it's doing too much. And how about stop it altogether? Okay, I'm going to come back to this because it's stopped for a second. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of talk about basically how does protest, what is the purpose of protest, especially when it comes to sports, as well as how does it affect the athletes and in the society. So quick breakout rooms, what you're going to be discussing right now is why do women and people of color experience discrimination both now and in the past? You see what happened? So I'm going to put you in quick breakout rooms while I work on this. And you're just discussing why do women and people of color experience discrimination now and in the past. Now and in the past. Breakout room is only going to be about 2 minutes. Braden, Ethan, and Torin, go ahead and hit join. Braden, Ethan, and Torin, hit join. Mackenzie, hit join.
Colin Kaepernick's protest against race.
What's up, Soliak? Do you ask for help? Or was that an accident?
So, I got kicked out, and I know the question,
Okay.
but can you, give me, a really quick, summary of what we're doing?
So basically, you're just talking about why women and people of color experience discrimination both in the past and now.
Okay.
Okay? Mm-hmm. All right, so somebody tell me why, what's the purpose of protests in sports? Why do athletes protest in sports, whether it's taking a knee, whether it's putting a fist up in the air, whether it's refusing to actually participate in a particular event? Go ahead, Zaire. Right, so they want to bring awareness to injustices in society, whether it be police brutality or just poverty in Black communities. Okay, how are athletes affected when athletes protest? How are they affected? Meaning, what happens to them when they protest in their arena? So just think about what's happened to Kaepernick. Let's look about what happened to the men who protested in the Olympics. Think about those things. Go ahead, Nala.
They get judged by the color, and if the people don't want to be plastic cut off their
Okay, so they get judged. Anyone else? What happens to them? Okay, that's fine, Zaire. What else happens to them? Go ahead, Monty.
They get fired.
Lose their jobs. Anyone else? What happens? Zaire, is your hand up, or is that still from the other time? Oh, it's from the other time. Okay. Anyone else? What happens? How are athletes affected when they protest? Does anyone know what happened to Kaepernick? So we know that he basically stopped playing for the 49ers, but what happened after that? Does anyone know? Has anyone heard the news recently of what happened to Kaepernick? So sometimes they... Go ahead, what were you going to say, Braylon?
I was about to say, didn't he get fired from playing NFL?
So basically what they call is like blackballed. And so blackballed means where nobody wants to hire you. Yep. So no one hires you. They put out a word, he's a risk. They lose money as well, because if you're not working, you lose money. How does this affect society? How does it affect society when athletes protest? Yeah, so I'm going to put that up there. the sports organization lose money as well. Thank you, Zaire. Because people stop coming to games. All right, so society. How is society affected when you have athletes who protest? What do society either lose or gain when you have athletes that protest because of injustice? Okay, so they might lose out on games or entertainment. Anyone else?
Maybe like a little tiny bit more freedom or something like that.
Right. So basically, they may gain some freedom because now they have somebody who is bringing awareness to something that they're suffering from. And this is from oppressed community. Anyone else? How is society affected? So we have that some people may lose out, some people may gain freedom. Give me one more. All I need is one more. I'm gonna call somebody. Something like how does society? How society affected by when an athlete protests? So what do they either lose or what do they gain? What do they get when athletes protest? You can even think about now with the NBA protesting, the NFL, maybe protesting. How does that affect society? Go ahead, Soliat.
They got treated badly.
So you saying society? Society is basically the people that lives in a particular state or country. So not the athletes. So we can talk about the athletes got treated badly, but we're talking about the people as well. Mackenzie?
They might get more players.
What do you mean more players?
Like they might earn more players from the person, the athlete protesting.
So society may get more players?
Yes.
So when you say more players, do you mean more players to play in the sport, or do you mean more players to kind of back their cause?
To play in the sport.
Okay. Okay. Do society lose out when athletes protest, or do they win when athletes protest? So do they lose or do they win when athletes protest? Soliat?
They lose.
So you think that they lose? Okay. May lose.
Yes.
Does anyone think that they win, that society wins when athletes protest? Go ahead, Imani.
Maybe sometimes.
Sometimes what do they win? Go ahead, Imani, you're still on mute.
More people that support and respect it.
Right. So people now, since more people now look at the problem and want to fix it. Good job. I know that was kind of a hard one, but I want you all to understand why protest is important and why it happens. You don't have athletes just protesting just for the fun of it, especially when they can lose their livelihood. If they feel as though a cause is important, they will put their job on the line to make sure that something is being done. Okay, So, what role, we're going to talk about what role can we play in changing these injustices now and in the future. And we kind of talked about that a little bit when we talked about classism. So we're not going to do this one, but what we are going to do is kind of get into what we're going to be reading about. So we're going to start reading about ways that sports can change individuals and society. What do you want to know about the power of sports to change people or society in ways that reduce racism and sexism? So you're going to jot down right now in your response box. What do you want to know about the power of sports to change people or society in ways that reduce racism and sexism? And it can change an individual in the way that individual sees themselves in society, or it could be in how does sports change society in ways of trying to address and reduce racism, sexism, and even classism. Who's ever yawning, don't do that. Miss Manning is nice and wide awake. You start yawning, she's going to start yawning. And then that's not good. It's not good for any of us.